Hare Krishna. Let us understand Bhagavad Gita as it is, written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. So let us understand these chapters section by section. Before we begin the discussion, let us offer our prayers to our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today let us understand the third section of chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita. Third section is from Shloka number 13 to Shloka number 16. This section is entitled Embodied Spirit. So let us understand this section. In this section, Lord Krishna describes how the soul within this material body can get liberated if he chooses. So let us understand. So Krishna says, Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. So this material body is actually an instrument. It's like an yantra, it's like a vehicle, and there is a spirit soul inside this body. Along with the spirit soul, there is the Supreme Lord as Paramatma, the super soul. Because of one's own ignorance from time immemorial, one identifies with the material body and tries to increase bodily pleasures and decrease bodily pain. But when one comes to true knowledge that he is not this material body, he is spirit soul, part of the Supreme Lord, he can become aloof from the bodily actions and reactions. The actions and reactions we perform through this material body, it can be controlled by knowledge. So therefore, achieving transcendental knowledge from a spiritual master is very, very important. Spiritual master will teach true knowledge according to the Vedic scriptures, which is coming from the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. This is called confidential knowledge, because in this material world people don't want the Supreme Lord, they don't want to serve God. Therefore, true knowledge is confidential. Those who desire to achieve true knowledge, the Lord will make arrangements to meet a spiritual master. He gives facilities for associating with devotees. So those who fortunately come in touch with a spiritual master and understands that they are not this body, they are spirit soul, and spirit soul is part of the Supreme Lord Krishna, they can mentally renounce the results of all their actions and become free from the effects of pains and pleasures that we experience in this material world. So Krishna is telling, when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily within the city of 9 gates. So this body is also compared to a city with 9 gates. So figuratively Krishna is explaining that even though we are within this body, we can still remain happy by renouncing all the reactions of our own actions, and in that way we will, by renouncing the actions we perform using this body. This is possible only when we become devotees of Krishna. We have to learn the techniques of how to live in this body from an expert spiritual master. An expert spiritual master, he trains us how to think, how to work, how to live in this world, what to do, what not to do. So all that training is essential for us. Without undergoing training, without learning from an expert spiritual master, we will become thoroughly confused and will not be happy in this material world. Therefore, we have to search for a genuine, bona fide spiritual master. As I was explaining in the previous chapters, there are 4 sampradayas, 4 paramparas coming from Lord Krishna. We have to approach a spiritual master coming in one of the 4 paramparas. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, is coming in the parampara of Lord Brahma. So he is the Jagat Guru in Kali Yuga. So we can accept Srila Prabhupada as our Guru and understand the teachings given by him in his books, in his lectures, through his institutions created. And in this way, we can advance spiritually and learn how to live happily within this body. So further Krishna says, Na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srajati prabhu na karma phala samyogam svabhavastu pravartate. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of nature. So in the 7th chapter, Krishna, he describes how the spirit soul is a superior energy and matter is an inferior energy. So this material body is conducted by the modes of material nature, and it is only due to ignorance we think that I am this body. When we come to true knowledge and learn how to utilize this body for pleasing Krishna, we become free from the effects of the material energy. When we connect ourselves with the Supreme Lord through devotional service, we become free from the influence of material energy. Because bhakti is spiritual. Krishna is spiritual, spirit soul is spiritual, and the actions meant for pleasing Krishna, it is also spiritual. So when we perform spiritual activities with the material body, there is no material reaction. One becomes liberated. So therefore, one has to learn these techniques. Further, Krishna says, Nadatte kasya chit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhu ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavahan. Nor does the Supreme assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. As I was explaining, along with the spirit soul in this body, there is the Supreme Lord as Paramatma in this material body. Wherever the soul goes, the super soul also goes. The super soul is completely aware of the desires of the spirit soul in this body. And without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, nothing happens, because everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. Everything moves because of the Supreme Lord's will. So without his sanction, nothing happens. But the Supreme Lord is not responsible for the pious or sinful activities performed by the spirit soul. When a person performs sinful activities, even though the Supreme Lord is in the heart, the Supreme Lord is not responsible for the sin or pious actions done by him. It is an embodied soul who is responsible, because he wanted to act in such a way. Therefore, the spirit soul has to experience the reactions of his own sinful activities or pious activities. If the spirit soul desires to use the body for pleasing Krishna, that is also good. And actually, if we learn this technique how to please Krishna, then he becomes liberated from all reactions. So therefore, the Supreme Lord is not responsible for the pleasures or pains a living being experiences in this world. Sometimes people ask this question, why there is so much of suffering? Why God is not doing anything? Actually, God doesn't want us to suffer. We have come to this material world to act in a particular way, and the Lord allows, and He has made laws of karma. If we act sinfully, we get reactions in the form of pain, and if we act piously, we get some reactions in the form of bodily pleasures. So these are all the laws of nature which the Lord has set up for our own living in this world, and the Lord is not responsible for our pains or pleasures. But He always gives us good advice to surrender to Him and return back to the spiritual world to enjoy with Him forever. So we should learn from a spiritual master how to become devotees of Krishna and how to return back to the spiritual world. So further Krishna says, Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nashitam atmanah tesham aditya vajnanam prakashayati tat param. When, however, one is enlightened with knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. A nice example Krishna is explaining. Just like in darkness, we cannot see things around us. In the same way, because of ignorance, we don't understand why things are happening in a certain way in this material world. We all want happiness, we all want true pleasure. But because of ignorance, we do it in a wrong way. We try to enjoy through the bodily sensual pleasures, thinking that I am the body. We try to enjoy bodily pleasure. This is never satisfying us. It doesn't satisfy the soul. But when one comes to true knowledge, by the grace of the spiritual master, by grace of Krishna, everything gets lit up. He becomes very happy. He knows that he is separate from the body. He knows that he is not the body. He knows he is part of Krishna, his spirit soul, which is one in quality with the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord Krishna is Satchidananda. He is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. We are all His parts. We are also Satchidananda. And our true home is the spiritual world. Spiritual world is Satchidananda. And we have a loving relationship with Krishna. So when one comes to know all these things, it gives him so much of joy. Just like when sun rises, everything is lit up and there is no fear. In darkness, we are all very fearful to go out alone because there is so much danger in darkness. But when it's in the daytime, when everything is lit up because of the effect of the sun rays, everything is seen very clearly. We know where is a ditch, where is which is the path to go, and what are the dangers on the path, so everything is clear for us on which route to go, which route not to go. Everything is lit up. In the same way, when we get knowledge, we know how to live in this world, we know how to use this body, we know what is good action, what is unfavorable action. So according to that, we lead a life which is actually favorable for our own spiritual elevation. And in that way, we can live happily in this world and get liberated from this material body. So further, what Krishna says, let us understand in the next section. Hare Krishna.